Welcome to BNEWS special Oscar preview, our first annual. Hopefully it'll go over well, so we'll have a second annual. In any event, my guest is BCAT staffer, soon to be world famous film critic, Chris Flaherty. Chris has been at BCAT since 2013 as a middle school volunteer. 2003, you don't look like you've been...
pretty old for,
that's right.
for 4.5.
I know some fellows who had beards in middle school, but in any event, he's been with BCAT since 2003 as a volunteer, as a graduate of Quinnipiac College in Hamden, Connecticut, with a undergraduate degree in film study.
Correct.
Great. Okay, well, it was a great year actually for the film industry, with roughly $11 billion in new ticket sales on new issue films, up 4.5% worldwide, over last year, which was a banner year as well. Unfortunately for the Oscar nominees, not many people saw their films, since the highest ticket grossing film was La La Land, which came in 83rd in total ticket sales. For those of you who are interested, somewhere in the top 7 or 8, 4 of which were Disney films, which grossed over $4 billion, were not necessarily, because all the numbers haven't been fully tabulated at this point, but they're pretty close. Captain America with $1.1 billion, Rogue One, $1.03 billion, Finding Dory, Zootopia, Jungle Book, Secret Life of Pets, Batman vs. Superman, Deadpool, and Fantastic Beasts, all which were between 1.1 billion and $800 million in gross sales. So the first question is, how many of those did you see?
I saw 8 of those.
Okay.
You didn't have to tell me to go see those ones.
Okay. Well, perhaps your taste is better than that of the Oscar nominated, or the critics who nominated these categories. But in any event, let's start a general question about animated film versus people in films. It seems the trend over the last couple of years has been these animated films have just outgrossed the human films enormously.
That's correct, yeah. I know we were talking about the recent Star Wars film before we went on live, and I hope everyone's seen the latest Star Wars before I spoil it. But,
don't do any spoilers, good God.
I gotta talk about some spoilers, but Peter Cushing was in the original Star Wars A New Hope, and he's since departed, like, I think decades ago. And of course the new Star Wars is a prequel to the original, and so they decided to motion capture Peter Cushing's face and likeness onto a new actor so they could have that character in the film. And obviously the technology, it's still iffy. Like, you can see it in the eyes or when the mouth moves that you're seeing an animated character. But it's really freaky to see this man who's been gone for 30 years, just walking around.
Right.
And then, obviously, Carrie Fisher just passed away, and she's in the original. And they took another actress, and they put her young face on her for 15 seconds. And thankfully it's only 15 seconds, because I saw the film in regular theaters, and then I saw it again in IMAX. And once you see it on the big screen, you can see the faults in the eyes and the smile and stuff. Right. But it's eerie that we've come that far, that we can recreate younger versions of actors and bring people back from the dead, essentially.
Yeah.
And I'm sure many actors and actresses are worried, this is going to put us out of a job. I certainly hope not.
Well, and another plug. Let's put a plug in for the film theaters. There is a couple of films that are offering an Oscar review.
Yes.
What are those?
The AMC theaters, which is pretty popular around New England, they're doing a Best Picture showcase. And I think there's an option. Some theaters are doing it 2 days, and then some theaters are doing it the whole thing, 9 films in 24 hours. You need a lot of coffee to do that, I think. But it's select theaters around here. The closest one, I think, is in Boston. I'm going to the one at the Liberty Tree Mall in Danvers. I'm doing the 2-day. I can't do 24 hours in a movie theater. But day one's tomorrow, and I think tickets are still available if anybody's interested.
Right. Okay, one last general question. The Golden Globes were quite political, so we're likely to see another diatribe of political thought here about why their candidate hasn't won.
I think we're going to see the freedom of speech excised a lot at the Academy Awards. I mean, We saw it a lot at Golden Globes. We saw it a lot at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. We're going outside of film. I didn't watch the Grammys, but I heard they were very political as well. I think Katy Perry did something with her performance. I'm not too sure. I could see both sides of that issue. You know, if you're in a position of, you know, heightened power, you're a public figure, and you have that platform, sure, I mean, you can speak out and say what you want. On the other side of it, I see that movies, entertainment is like a way to escape real life. So, you know, when you're watching a movie or you're watching a television program, sometimes you just want to get away from all that. Yeah. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword, I think.
Correct.
But, you know,
well, we can
prepared.
expect a lot of it. Although Jimmy Kimmel is the host, and he was quoted today as it's going to be lightly political, but you never know what that's going to be, since Trump has been called by various members of the entertainment industry as mentally ill, Hitler, con man.
Correct.
The media's called his wife a hooker, his child autistic. So who knows what we're likely to see.
I think Trump's got a new nemesis in Meryl Streep after Golden Globes.
Okay, well, we could talk about that, because I think
Yes.
we'll talk about that when we get to it.
Of course.
Okay, so let's start off with, want to do Best Picture
Let's
first?
start with Best Picture. We'll go with the biggest
Great.
award. 9 films have been nominated this year. I'll just go right down the list. La La Land, Moonlight, Manchester by the Sea, Arrival, Lion, Hidden Figures, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, Fences. And we talking about, I saw 8 of the highest grossing films this year. I saw 4 of these.
So
but I'm going to see the rest of them.
Read the previews.
I'm going to see the rest of them.
Well, that's the old Saturday Night Live skit. You're probably too young to remember it, when Bill Murray was on Saturday Night Live, and he was a film critic. Yeah, he was a film critic, and he said, well, you know, I didn't see 5 of them, but a friend of mine saw the 6th one, and he said she had nice legs, so I voted for that one. That's the best one. So what do you see here as the winner?
Well, I did do my homework. I looked at the results for the Critics' Choice Awards, the Golden Globes, the BAFTA Awards, which are the British Academy Film Awards, and the Screen Actors Guild Awards. And honestly, I think, you know, this is La La Land's category to win. I mean, it seems to be a crowd favorite. It seems to be a critic's favorite. It helps that, you know, it's a film about Hollywood, and I think, you know, the Academy really goes for that.
Right.
I can remember The Artist, that won a couple of years ago. So, I mean, I think, you know, it's a very universal message about, you know, following your dreams, no matter, you know, how hard it gets. So I think it's La La Land's film to win. I mean, we could.
It's the only real musical in the.
It is the
that
only
was
real
released
musical.
this year
Yeah,
at all, right?
and you don't. Well, if you're not counting Disney animated musicals.
Right, we don't count those.
No, and you know, the Academy doesn't often, you know, honor musicals. I mean, Les Miserables came out back in 2012, I think. I believe it was nominated for Best Picture, but I think the only award was Anne Hathaway for Best Supporting Actress. So we'll see. La La Land could turn the tide. It won the Critics' Choice Awards. It won the Golden Globe for Comedy or Musical, and I want to talk about the Golden Globe Best Picture Award. And it won BAFTA.
What is BAFTA? That's British American.
British Academy Film
yeah,
and Television Arts.
Right.
Now, I want to talk about Golden Globes. Like, they don't have one Best Picture award. As you know, they do drama and they do musical and comedy. Now, as La La Land won comedy or musical, we have Moonlight, and that won drama. So that could, you know, turn the tide. It's a very unique film. It's very bold. It's daring. It's not something, you know, you see normally at the theaters. So I think the critics responded to that. I think the audience responded to that. So, I mean, we might see a major upset. Manchester by the Sea, it's not the feel-good film of the year, Phil.
No.
As you know, we talked about that.
Right. We both needed a good hug after seeing
Oh,
that.
I needed a serious.
Yeah,
You should have warned me.
I tried to.
Very good film, but, you know, it doesn't, you know, warm your heart like La La Land does.
Right.
So, and then, you know, when there's more films, you know, there's more front runners than there are, or less front runners than there are, you know, clear winners. Does that make sense?
Well, Manchester by the Sea had, for Bostonians, people of this region, it had a lot of attraction because I mean, just even the 128 exit signs.
Beautifully shot film.
Beautifully shot, absolutely. Because I mean, we've all been in all of those spaces that they filmed in.
Yeah, he's talking about Quincy and Manhattan.
I think they had the nephew of the main character had the line of the year for somebody from this region when he said that when the uncle wants him to move to Quincy, he says it's only 45 minutes, and the nephew says to him, "Look,
They get an hour and a
get
half.
from here to get from here to Quincy, you couldn't get from here to Quincy in 45 minutes in a rocket ship."
That resonated with me
Yeah,
too.
it sure did. You can't get from here to Medford in 45 minutes.
Oh. So
So what's your pick there?
I'm gonna go with La La Land. Honestly, it's the front runner. I think it's an easy choice. Again, might see an upset with Moonlight. A couple of Critics' Choice Awards. Hacksaw Ridge won Best Action Movie, and Arrival won Best Sci-Fi/Horror Movie. Is that something we have to worry about?
No, I don't think so. I'm a sci-fi buff, and I saw it, and it was very slow. It was very well done. The animation was good, but it was essentially a film about a linguistics professor trying to translate the language of these, highly evolved aliens. So that dragged on for quite a while. But overall, I think the concept was good. But I don't see that being a dark horse for the nomination.
I don't think they're real threats. I mean, the Critics' Choice Awards, it gives these subcategories for films that aren't normally recognized by like the Academy and the higher award ceremonies. So there's nothing to worry about there. Hidden Figures, I saw it. It's a very feel-good film. I think it's a very unique film. It gives a different perspective on that time period, with diversity and everything, by giving us a little info into the space race, which was a nice thing to do. But it's nothing like, groundbreaking. It's not like Best Picture material. But this is what I'm worried about, because at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, it won Best Ensemble. And I sort of see that as like the parallel to Best Picture. Now, if you look back at, last year's awards, Spotlight, it won Best Picture. But at Golden Globes and BAFTA, it didn't win anything.
Right.
But it did win Best Ensemble at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. So, I don't know, that would be a major, come from behind story. And then you look at 2014, Birdman won Best Picture. That also won Best Ensemble at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. And you'll see at the Golden Globes, Boyhood and Grand Budapest Hotel, they won the Golden Globes for Best Picture. And then Boyhood won the BAFTA. So, but I think, it's an easy win for La La Land.
Okay, Best Director. Go ahead. Who are the nominees?
I mean, I'll say the names. These names probably aren't going to resonate with everybody, but Damien Chazelle, director of La La Land, Barry Jenkins, director of Moonlight, Kenneth, I'm going to butcher his
Lonergan,
name.
yeah,
Lonergan,
he's a well-known name. He's had a few nominations, I think, way back.
Dennis Villanova for Arrival, this got a lot of controversy. Mel Gibson for Hacksaw Ridge. I was surprised at the outburst over his nomination, but
well, they don't like him. He's politically
Right.
incorrect in Hollywood, so that's a bad thing.
But I mean, you have to separate, the work from the material. And if he directed a good film, then why shouldn't we recognize him for that? I mean, I don't think he's going to go off on a angry rant like he did on his voicemails if he wins. But I don't think he's going to win. I think that again, this is going to go out to La La Land for Damien Chazelle. He's won the Critics' Choice. He's won the Golden Globe. He won the BAFTA. I think easy money. Damien Chazelle. Have you seen La La Land yet?
Not yet.
Oh, you should. It's wonderful. But
I'm not big on musicals.
all right. Well, you just leave that to me then. But a lot of amazing camera work, camera shots in there. I think he really crafted some great performances out of Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, who aren't normally, musical actors. So I think.
Well, there hasn't been very many film vehicles for that type of an actor.
Right.
Although, in order to be in that business, you certainly have to go through voice and dance and a variety of other training in order to really be a well-rounded actor. And she certainly has been a rising star, and Gosling is he's a dream guy.
Yeah, he's a dream guy. I find him handsome objectively.
Oh, me too, objectively, yeah. Really.
I mean, we'll talk about how he's like trained and stuff. He was a Mouseketeer, so he knows how to sing and dance.
Yeah.
And Emma Stone, I think she was in Cabaret on Broadway. So they're not going into this half blind, but they always say there's a bit of a transition, acting on Broadway, acting to theater. So, so I'm gonna go with Damien Chazelle.
Yeah,
for La La Land.
that looks like an easy one, right?
Yep. Barry Jenkins for Moonlight. Again, I mean that's a very different film. He could win, but I think the strength of that film more relies on the performances than the directing. So. I'm putting my money on La La Land, Phil.
Okay, and Best Actor.
Best Actor. This, I think, is going to be an interesting race. Casey Affleck, Manchester by the Sea. Denzel Washington, Fences. Andrew Garfield, Hacksaw Ridge. Ryan Gosling for La La Land. And Viggo Mortensen for Captain Fantastic. Now, again, we've both seen Manchester by the Sea. Casey Affleck's the one who's gotten the most awards. He got the Critics' Choice, the Golden Globe for Drama, and he got the BAFTA. So, you know, he could definitely take this home. Ryan Gosling, he is a big crowd favorite, as we just talked about. He's a favorite for you and me.
Right.
And we talked about how the Golden Globe split things, I mean, drama and comedy or musical. He got comedy or musical. Casey Affleck got drama. And I found it interesting. I looked at the past 2 years, and it's always between the two winners of those Golden Globes for who's going to win. Last year, Leonardo DiCaprio won for The Revenant, Matt Damon for The Martian, and then Leo won his first Oscar, and the world rejoiced. Leo won the BAFTA. The year before that, Eddie Redmayne won for playing Stephen Hawking in The Theory of Everything, and he also won the BAFTA and the Golden Globe. And Michael Keaton for Birdman, he just got the Golden Globe. So you'll see right there, I mean, the drama actors have gotten, you know, more favor in the past couple of years. So Ryan Gosling might go home empty-handed tonight, and Casey Affleck, you know, might win an Oscar.
Well, I did read an article on the politics of the Oscars, and last year, of course, there was a big controversy that there weren't enough people of color that were nominated, et cetera, et cetera. So they added people of color into the Academy for voting purposes. So
there's a lot of diversity this year.
There is a lot of diversity, which leads this particular writer to conclude that Denzel Washington for Fences would likely to be one of the 2 or 3 nominees of color for the major awards.
I think he has a good chance of stealing this award. I watched the Screen Actors Guild Awards, and when they announced his name, the crowd went crazy.
Thunderous, sure.
Yeah. So.
Well, he's well known. You know, I mean, he's been a force in the movie business for a long period of time.
Very well known, very talented.
Yeah, he
has been nominated a few times.
Great performances as well. My choice here would be Casey Affleck. I know it's an easy one, but anybody who could play such a miserable role.
Yeah, no, anyone can just look sad at the camera for an hour and a half.
Oh, my God.
You know, if it resonates with the audience and if it already resonates with the critics, you know, give them the award.
Right.
Ryan Gosling, sorry, man, I'm going to go with Casey Affleck for this one. And then, you know, we can talk about the other two. Andrew Garfield, haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge yet. He won Best Actor in an Action Movie at the Critics' Choice Awards. This is his second nomination. I don't think he's going to win.
Yeah,
he's young. He's got plenty of time.
Right. War movies typically of late haven't gotten many nominations or wins, have they? For Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan, I think was the last one that was a major winner.
Right. And in recent years, nothing really. It's either, you know, political controversy or something from history. Or, you know, something, you know, that takes place in the entertainment industry, like The Artist or Birdman.
And Viggo Mortensen, is that a Marvel film?
No, I can understand why you think that. No, it's an indie film. It's about his family. They're living like in poverty in the woods, and it's sort of about like his struggle as a father to, you know, make life good for his family.
Okay.
So, but I think the problem there is not a lot of people saw it.
Right.
So I think, you know, into the 5, he's number 5 for likely to win. So.
Okay. All right, Best Actress. Who are those nominees?
Emma Stone for La La Land, Natalie Portman for Jackie, Isabelle Huppert for Elle, Meryl Streep for Florence Foster Jenkins. This is Meryl's 20th nomination.
Now the leading number of nominations for a female actress in the lead.
And then Ruth Negga for Loving. And again, I'm gonna, you know, get a lot of angry comments on YouTube for loving La La Land so much, but I mean, Emma Stone is the clear front runner. She won the Screen Actors Guild, she won the Golden Globe for Comedy or Musical, and she won the BAFTA. So that's 3 awards, 3 high-ranking awards. So I mean, it's got to go to her, I think. The only one I think you really have to worry about is Isabelle Huppert for Elle. She won the Golden Globe for Drama, and you know how we talked about it always comes down to who wins the 2 Golden Globes. But again, that's a foreign film. I don't think a lot of people have seen that. Very rarely do you see a foreign film actor win Best Actor or Actress. I think the last one was Marion Cotillard back in 2008 for La Vie en Rose. And then I think before that was Roberto Benigni for Life is Beautiful, all the way back in the early 90s. So I think Emma's, you know, she's got it. Natalie Portman for Jackie. I mean, she's playing a very prominent figure of history, Jackie Kennedy. She won the Critics' Choice, but I don't think a lot of people saw this film.
Right.
I did look up, the Rotten Tomatoes ratings for everything, and everything's in 90s and 80s because these are critical darlings, all these films. But they also give the critics percentage and they give the audience percentage, and it was interesting because I saw the biggest gap with Jackie. 96% of critics liked it, but only 67% of audiences liked it. So.
Well, I think part of that is that because it's essentially a recreation of the events surrounding the assassination of
Right.
President Kennedy, which, that is not a particular high spot for anybody who lived through that period of time. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, I specifically didn't go to see it for that reason because I didn't want to relive those events, although I was only in the 7th grade at the time.
I didn't go see it because I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. Now, I think this is a hugely political year, and I think Meryl Streep is going to win this partly on the basis of her performance, but partly on the basis of her outspokenness regarding
Right.
the election results. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. As a result of that, her standing up, getting a thunderous ovation, making the same type of a screed, same type of a rant that she did previously. So I wouldn't be surprised for that reason, which would be a shame for Emma Stone, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to agree to disagree with you on this one. I mean, I don't doubt Meryl Streep's going to win a 4th Oscar someday, but I don't think it's going to be for this movie. Again, it's got a high 87% of critics on Rotten Tomatoes, but again, I don't think a lot of people saw this film. But then again, how many people really do see the films that are nominated for Oscars? I mean, if you look at the 10 that are nominated versus the 10 that won the box office, it's the age-old debate that the Academy's out of touch with audiences today. But we'll see.
Well, clearly by the ticket sales, they're completely out of touch with the audiences. But many of them, because they were animated, you couldn't put them in. Although I suppose you could put a Best Picture in the animation category.
Animated films have won or have been nominated for Best Picture. Excuse me.
Right?
Well, Beauty and the Beast was the first one to ever be nominated, all the way back in 1991, and for a long time it was just 5 Best Picture nominees. And then I think around 2010 they brought it up to 10 nominees. And then only 2 animated films have been nominated for Best Picture since then. And of course, they're Pixar films, Up and Toy Story 3.
Right.
So I think animated films are getting more recognition, like with the creation of the Best Animated Feature Award. But they're still sort of like a
Well, Shrek should have been nominated.
Don't get me started on Shrek.
That was even for us old guys, that was a very, very funny film.
It was a funny film.
Okay, so
Supporting actor.
supporting actor, Mahershala Ali.
Yeah, you said that right. For Moonlight, Jeff Bridges for Hell or High Water, Dev Patel for Lion, Lucas Hedges for Manchester by the Sea, and Michael Shannon for Nocturnal Animals. I'm just going to go with what I know. Mahershala Ali for Moonlight. That's my pick.
Okay.
Won Critics' Choice and Screen Actors Guild.
Now, Lucas Hedges was the nephew in Manchester by the Sea.
He was the nephew of Manchester by the Sea.
Excellent.
And he hasn't won any supporting actor awards, but he
Right.
did win Best Young Actor at Critics' Choice Awards. How much weight that carries, I don't know. We could see him walk away with the Golden Globe. Personally, I didn't think, there was a lot of effort in his performance. He's just playing a teenager.
He's playing a teenager.
He's playing a teenager. He's playing himself,
Right.
basically.
Not that hard.
So I don't think, anyone's going to, be wowed by that performance. It's interesting, though. The person who won the Golden Globe this year is not nominated here. Aaron Taylor Johnson won for Best Supporting Actor at the Golden Globes for Nocturnal Animals, and he's not nominated for the Academy Award, but his co-star Michael Shannon is. Does that mean Michael Shannon's going to get it instead?
And what was
Probably not.
Moonlight now?
Moonlight it's based off a play, and it's 3 acts, and it's about this young African American man, Chiron. And you see this 3 stages of his life as a child, as a teenager, and then as an adult male. And it's a very nuanced film, and it's sort of like, I don't want to go into too much spoiler territory, but it deals with like his problems. He's being bullied in school. He's being he's abused by his mother. It's a lot about identity and expressing who you are and not being afraid to be who you are. And Mahershala Ali, he plays a drug dealer who saves him from some bullies as a child and sort of takes him under his wing. And then, him and his girlfriend sort of become like supportive figures for him throughout the play, or the film, excuse me. So, I mean, I think Mahershala Ali is a very talented actor. I think he's very up and coming. He's been around the Netflix circuit a lot. He was Remy in House of Cards. He was the villain in Luke Cage. He had a supporting role in some of the Hunger Games films. So I think it's nice for a talented guy to get this award. And, you know, he might walk away with it because, you know, Critics' Choice, Screen Actors Guild Awards, I mean, it seems to be in his favor. Dev Patel for Lion won the BAFTA. I'm not too sure if that means he's going to win the Oscar too, because you have to consider, you know, there's a bit of a culture shock between the British Academy and the American Academy. So, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to go with the consensus pick there. Like you say, you know, he got virtually every nomination from the major players in the award business. So I would think, and again, you know, if this is you know, backlash from last year and years before in terms of people of color not being nominated, this is another opportunity to recognize you know, that wing of the Academy.
Right, and the two front runners are, you know, men of color. So.
Yeah, right. Okay, Best Supporting Actress.
Supporting Actress, how can this not go to Viola Davis for Fences? She won the Critics' Choice, she won the Screen Actors Guild Awards, she won the Golden Globe, and she won the BAFTA. You'd be a fool not to bet on Viola Davis tonight. Sure. And then we have Michelle Williams for Manchester by the Sea, Naomi Harris for Moonlight, Nicole Kidman for Lion, and Octavia Spencer for Hidden Figures.
Okay, give us a little history of what's gone on the last couple of years.
Okay, last couple years, last year, Alicia Vikander won for The Danish Girl, and that is the only award she won for it. The Golden Globe went to Kate Winslet, the BAFTA went to Kate Winslet. The year before that, Patricia Arquette took everything for Boyhood. She won the Globe, the Oscar, and the BAFTA. So, I mean, if you look at, you know, 2015 where Patricia Arquette won everything, that's sort of, you know, what we're seeing with Viola Davis, so that could happen again. But then at the same time, Kate Winslet won the Globe and the BAFTA, so someone else could take it from Viola. I'd be very surprised, considering last time she was nominated for an Oscar, she won all the awards, and then Meryl Streep swooped in and won the Oscar for The Iron Lady. Right. But you can't deny, I mean, this woman is very talented. She's won Emmys and Critics' Choice Awards and BAFTA. She's got the TV show on ABC, How to Get Away with Murder. I don't watch it. Mom does. Hi, Mom. I'm picking Viola for you. So I think this is hers. Michelle Williams, I don't know. I mean, you've seen it. She does a good job, but she's not in it enough, I think, to, you know, garner recognition. You know, I made the joke, like, so, you know, you can do a good Boston accent, so you get nominated for an Oscar. That seems to be like an unspoken rule these days.
Right. Well, thank God for Damon and Affleck, you know,
I know.
Brought it to the big screen. Of course, nobody can understand us.
No one can understand us. Now everyone thinks when they come here, we all talk like that.
When I was much younger, I went to a convention for a particular firm I was selling for up in New York, and there was representatives from every state in the union, and I got voted best accent. It wasn't. I think it was. Unrecognizable. What's the word I'm looking for?
It's unrecognizable to our ears, but I think you go somewhere else and someone says, "Oh, you're from Boston."
Right.
Like,
non-understandable, I think, is how they characterize it. You know?
Like, I would have friends at Quinnipiac, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're from Boston." I'm like, "How do you know?"
Okay, so what are we up to now? We're up to the Best Animated Feature?
Best Animated Feature, something for the kids. As I jokingly call this, the Best Disney Paycheck Awards.
Right. Well, they had $4 billion worth of paychecks this year.
They control entertainment, and ever since this award was instated at the 2001 Oscars, they've won the majority of the trophies. I guess you could say Pixar has won the majority of the trophies. So, I don't think, have you seen any of these?
Yeah.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Zootopia, Moana, Kubo and the Two Strings, The Red Turtle, and My Life as a Zucchini. I didn't see the last two.
Yeah, all right.
But, you know, those titles are very interesting. Zootopia won Critics' Choice, and it won the Golden Globe. I think it's going to take the Best Animated Feature, too. And it is a very well-made film, and I think given the political climate that we're in, I think it resonates with a lot of audiences. It's about prejudice and diversity. I mean, who would have thought a film about talking animals would would talk about, prejudice and diversity? But it's a very
it was like
clever film.
Orwell's
Animal House.
Animal.
Yeah.
No, well, not Animal
Animal
House.
Farm.
Animal Farm.
Animal Farm.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Right. Right.
yes.
So I think that's the clear front runner. I mean, it's probably going to be Disney versus Disney with Zootopia versus Moana. And Moana is a very good film. It's a very beautiful film.
right.
It takes place in Polynesia, and, the islands and the water is beautiful. I don't think it's, a very groundbreaking story. It's, the princess going on the adventure with the guy sidekick.
Yeah, well, that's an old theme, right?
It's a very old theme. It's been the basic theme for, all the Disney movies with like Frozen and Tangled. Like the lead girl goes off with the guy and they go on an adventure. And I'm spoiling things, so
Well,
I'm going to stop.
Even since the silent films, that's basically been the main theme.
Right,
boy meets girl, boy and girl go off on an adventure.
Exactly. But if it's an award-winning formula, why break it?
Why break it?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like TV. They started with cop shows, then they did lawyer shows, then they did doctor shows.
Right.
Now here we are 60 years later, and what they've done is they've mixed up lawyers, cops, and doctors in the same shows.
I know.
Why, if one worked, why won't three work?
They're creating like the franchise with the Chicago shows, the Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago Law, and then there's the crossover with all of them.
We're going to have NCIS Bangor, Maine pretty soon.
It'd be a quiet show.
Okay, well, one of the points I would make here is that these things have become so enormously popular.
They really have.
I mean, in terms of sales, in terms of the number of people that are seeing them, I don't think that they're getting the recognition that they deserve in these award shows. I mean, perfect example is, maybe less than 2 or 3% of our viewing audience has seen even a majority of these films that we're talking about.
Right.
Yet, from what are the Rotten Tomatoes on Zootopia?
Zootopia is in like the top 90s. Same with Moana. Kubo and the Two Strings. I didn't look this one up, and I'm sorry. BAFTA. They gave it to BAFTA. That's a stop motion film, and I think stop motion is an incredibly, I don't know how you would say this. It's a very long process. There's like 70 pictures in one frame because you just got to move the arm like so slightly. So, I mean, I think you could give an award to a stop motion film on merit just like that. But again, Zootopia, I mean.
Well, 1.1 billion in sales. It's hard to beat that. So apparently the viewing populace enjoyed it. So close up for us. What are your closing comments?
Well, I left some room for some snubs. Hidden Figures, I mean, Octavia is nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She is not the strongest performance in this film, I think. I think that would either go to Taraji P. Henson. She's the main star of the film.
And she's a rising star.
She is a rising star. She's on that show Empire, and it's a very popular. I think she won the Emmy for that, too.
Yeah.
And then
she might have won one, too, for that Michael Emerson's and Jim Caviezel. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Person of Interest.
Yes. She was wonderful in that as well.
And she was nominated once upon a time for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button with Brad Pitt. And then the other,
well, that's way back.
Way back. That's 2008.
Right.
Yeah. Right. That's a long movie.
Yeah, it's a great film. Though.
It is a great film.
It is a great film.
And then again in Hidden Figures, Janelle Monáe is the other actress starring in it. I think she did a great performance. She adds a lot of levity to this very serious film dealing with a very controversial topic about diversity in our nation's history. And she still has her own character journey and some adversity to overcome, but she also adds like a lot of levity to the film, which I think should have been appreciated by the audience. We're going to talk about critics being out of touch with the audiences. I think Ryan Reynolds should have been nominated for Deadpool because, and not just because it's a superhero movie and he does a good job, but
and you like superhero
I do.
movies.
I do like superheroes. Just go look at my desk.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't like superhero movies?
But I think in terms of, bringing characters to life, I think Ryan Reynolds really was Deadpool. I think, you look at the comics and stuff and you read and you see this character who's always like cracking wise and breaking the fourth wall. I think Ryan Reynolds was just born to play that character. And he lobbied for it for so many years. And, we finally got it and became one of the most successful R-rated films of all time. And then, I'm going to get silly here. I'm going to lose my credibility. Seth Rogen's animated film Sausage Party. And this is 83% of critics liked it, 53% of audiences did. I think that's a big gap, and I was surprised that it would go one way, where critics liked it more and audiences liked it less. And
Well, that's why there's a lot more audiences and there's very few critics.
exactly. And you know, it's funny. I was very surprised when I walked in, but it deals a lot with like religion and belief. But you know,
Taboo subjects.
yeah, taboo subject, which is it's hidden under a lot of crude and crass humor. So I think that's why
That's
it
helpful,
wasn't
yeah.
nominated, because yeah, you're talking about religion and beliefs, but you're throwing in
Well,
crude
that's how Bill Maher
humor.
gets away with it. A crass and vulgar humor.
That's true. And then finally, I was surprised that Amy Adams had two really great movies out this year, Arrival and Nocturnal Animals, and she didn't get nominated for either.
Well, I don't think I didn't see Nocturnal Animals, but I didn't think her performance in Arrival. Again, it was kind of a boring film, and she didn't really liven it up too much with a compelling performance. I mean, she played the part, but really, how exciting can a linguistics professor be?
That's true.
You know? Think back in your college days.
Oh. Thankfully, no linguistics professors are going to be watching this.
Right, exactly. It reminds me of Noam Chomsky of MIT, who's linguistic professor.
He's not going to bother with us.
No,
But just
probably the
to
most boring man on the planet, with the exception of when he makes any kind of a political pronouncement.
That's true. It was funny. I read an article saying that Amy Adams is becoming the next Leonardo DiCaprio, where she's getting nominated and recognized for all these films. But when it comes to Oscar time, it doesn't cut it.
Well, I will say this far: she has quite a bit of range, because she played a very plain kind of a person and then the next film, I mean, she was this glamorous, very glamorous star. So I mean,
She's got range. I mean,
yeah.
she's played a Disney princess. She's played a tough Boston chick. Again, you do a good Boston accent, you get an
yeah,
Oscar
exactly.
nomination. So I think her time will come eventually, but not this year.
Okay, that about wraps it up for us. This is the first annual BCAT Oscar preview, starring our up-and-coming, soon-to-be world-famous film critic, Chris Flaherty. I'm Phil Gallagher. Thank you for joining us.